everybody, and welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Sinead DeFries, and this is the daily show where we bring you the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. We're kind of a small group today, but I'm extra excited. Joining us this morning is Kristian Harloff and Mark Ellis.
We have taken over this place, Mark. We've taken it over.
You guys can tell you're just a little excited.
We're ready. Yeah, because Campy is currently in the trunk of my Ford Fusion. If he behaves, he can get out by noon.
All right. Okay, let's get started. With Star Wars Episode 7 now just about 2 months away, many people have been speculating when a new trailer may drop, since it has been nearly 6 months since the previous trailer. Well, according to a story in Star Wars 7 News, the date for the new trailer will be October 19th. The outlet claims to have a source that has verified the information. Kristian and Mark, do you believe that October 19th is the new date that the Star Wars Episode 7 trailer will finally be revealed?
Well, first things first, if Ray made that graphic, that Lucasfilm should hire him. Because that is an amazing graphic that was put together.
It's a beautiful piece of art.
It really is. As far as StarWars7News.com goes, they are really good with reporting scoops, gathering information. We reference them all the time on Jedi Council. So I do believe that their source is probably accurate, and I also think that it makes sense. We've been speculating on this forever. Last time it was me, you, Schnepp, and Campia on Jedi Council, so we were saying, when will this trailer drop? And you made a great point to where you're going to have the ticket sales drop around the same time. So it would make sense, a great marketing tool, if you drop that earlier this morning and then, hey, guess what? You like that trailer? Now you can buy tickets for the movie. Rebels Season 2 also premieres around the same time. You also have, it's fall. JJ said we were getting a fall release. And the fact that it is 6 months, and I know that if Campio was here, he was saying that it was a little too early to drop it in April. I don't agree with that. I think that the marketing for this movie has been perfect. I really do. And as a Star Wars fan, I wish we could have gotten the trailer about 2-3 months ago, but I understand why they're doing it, and it's going to make sense.
It's building anticipation, and yeah, I think this is going to be the date for the trailer. Now, having said that, that might not be the date that you get to see your first new glimpse of Star Wars footage, because like you said, Kristian, Rebels comes out the week before. It premieres on Disney XD, so maybe there's going to be like a TV spot, right, or maybe even like during Sunday Night Football or something a lot of eyeballs are going to be on the day before the 19th, they run a TV spot, because we're getting into that time now where we're a little over 2 months away, but by then it's going to be exactly 2 months. So you start seeing TV ads typically with movies. Star Wars isn't a typical movie. They don't market it like any other film. As soon as we saw the trailer at Celebration, we were speculating as to when we're going to get to see the next one. It makes so much sense to have the tickets go on sale. Then immediately after the tickets go on sale, you have a new trailer. And then at the end of the trailer, you say, buy tickets here.
What I'm a little surprised at, though, is that it's not Friday, because Bridge of Spies comes out. Well, actually, no. You know what? It comes out next week, doesn't it? Bridge of Spies.
Bridge of Spies comes out next week.
Next week, so it does make sense that this Monday. I'm trying to figure it's not this Monday.
No, it would still be. Bridge of Spies still comes out a week earlier, but
you know what I'm saying though, because Bridge of Spies is still run by Disney right now with Dreamers. So I thought that maybe to give it a little extra push. I know that doesn't matter because it's going to blow up on the internet anyway. But I just thought maybe to give Bridge of Spies that extra push, they would put it there.
If we were in the early 2000s, I would totally agree with you, because it was a big event. The fact that a Star Wars trailer was attached to Meet Joe Black or Monsters Inc. or The Incredibles, right. But here, because they know it's going to blow up on the internet, and that number means everything. Even Star Wars themselves at Celebration bragged about how much the trailer's already blown up just in a weekend. So that's the number that they're counting, because that's also how you buy tickets, is you go online. You don't see the movie preview in a theater and then go buy tickets out in the lobby. You do it online.
All right, Sinead, what's next?
According to a report in The Wrap, Marvel Studios has hired Joe Robert Cole to write the script for their upcoming superhero film, The Black Panther. Cole has reportedly collaborated with Marvel before in the form of writing a draft for their upcoming Inhumans feature, and apparently Marvel really liked his work. Actor Chadwick Boseman is already signed on to play the Black Panther and will make his debut in the upcoming Captain America: Civil War. The Black Panther is currently scheduled to hit theaters on July 6th, 2018. Mark, how does this move affect your outlook on the Black Panther?
I'm very excited to see Black Panther. I can't wait to see Black Panther and what his role in Civil War is, especially with the fact that Spider-Man is now shoehorning his way in there as well, so maybe taking away some of his screen time. But the standalone Black Panther movie is something I'm really looking forward to. This news doesn't really affect me either way yet, because I just don't know enough about Joe Robert Cole. I know he did a smaller movie, and then he was working on the Inhumans script. I don't know if they like the Inhuman script and they want to keep his there, and then they also want to do him for Black Panther, or they like his take on Inhumans and like, you know what, let's have you do Black Panther instead. But I can't help but think that because it's Marvel and it's such a big conglomerate and they have such a huge brain trust there already, that you're bringing in some new blood so you can get a different take on the story, but it's also somebody who you can say, hey, we need you to put this in the movie and you need to allude to this and we need you to reference this as well. So it's somebody they can control.
I'll be a broken record. Marvel just knows how to put together a team.
Right.
So when it comes to this guy, I think that it is because of that Inhuman script. They liked what he did. Whether or not they use his final version for the Inhumans movie, we don't know, but they like it enough to where they want to keep him in the family. He probably had a great take on Black Panther as well, knows the character. What they've done well, Marvel anyway, is surround themselves with not only good filmmakers, good talent, but people who know the properties, people who understand what the properties mean. So if they're bringing him on, that means he's got a good hold on what the Black Panther is going to be, because you have to, for this, he's going to debut in Civil War, and he is going to be a presence. And I said it, and I'll go on record, I think he's going to kick the crap out of Captain America in one of their fights. And when he makes this kind of impact in the movie, you're going to want to know more about him. So whoever's writing this movie, it's got to be someone that you have a lot of confidence in. So I think because they're having to do Inhumans and they're having to do this, that this guy's going to be around for a little bit in the Marvel family.
And they also like the take, because I don't think they want another Edgar Wright situation, which even though Ant-Man turned out to be fantastic, even with the departure of Edgar Wright, they don't want something like that to happen to more than one of their movies. Like, they want whoever they have tapped to direct a movie or to write a movie, they want them to stay on board the whole time. So it's somebody they can easily work with. So Kevin Feige probably really likes working with this guy. And instead of a bigger name director, somebody you've heard of before, Feige they can shape this thing together, as opposed to a bigger director coming in and saying, I'm going to impose my will on this project.
Although I think F. Gary Gray has been rumored to be looking at this one as well too, and he's a pretty big director. So to see him kind of come in, I know he's also been rumored for Furious. He might
be busy driving cars.
Maybe so. But well, we don't. I mean, maybe he can do both. I mean, that Compton movie, Straight Outta Compton, was great and has opened up a lot of doors for him, as it should. So it'd be interesting.
Is that a car door? See what I did there?
Very nice.
Write that down.
All right, Sinead, what do we got next?
A new international trailer for the upcoming Bryan Cranston film, Trumbo, has hit the web. Trumbo follows the successful career of the 1940 screenwriter and explores how it all came to a crushing end when he and other Hollywood figures are blacklisted for their political beliefs. The film tells the story of Trumbo's fight against the U.S. government and studio bosses in a war over words and freedom. Trumbo was the highest-paid screenwriter of his day when he was brought before Senator Joseph McCarthy's House Un-American Activities Committee. Refusing to testify, Trumbo was blacklisted but continued to write under fake names, winning Academy Awards for both Irving Rapper's The Brave One and William Wyler's Roman Holiday. Kristian, what do you think of the newest Trumbo trailer?
I think this screams, send me to Oscar City. I think this movie looks incredible, and it looks like that role finally for Bryan Cranston. He had that tremendous run on Breaking Bad as Walter White, one of the most memorable characters of all time in just in entertainment. So to play this character and to tell this story, it looks like it's shaping up to be one of those basically what Whiplash did last year, as to where it just came out and it just punched you right in the jaw and you went, whoa, what was that? I think that this is what Jumbo's going to be. This is what Jumbo's going to be. Trumbo's going to be.
It's going to be a jumbo-sized success.
Hey, I think you guys came and saw the wrong movie.
So I think with Trumbo, this is a movie that, especially for the political climate now, and to hear just the differences before, everything that happened in the political climate during that era, I think it's going to actually show a lot of parallels to what's going on right now. And I really want to see Bryan Cranston come out and just crush it. And Louis C.K. going into he did the dramatic role in
Blue Valentine,
not Blue Valentine, in not Civil Linings Playbook. Anyone remember the one? Steven, anyone remember? Thank you. American Hustle. That's what we do. We see you're missing John. American Hustle is. I thought Louis C.K. knocked it out of the park. So to see him, we know he can do dramatic. This movie looks amazing.
Yeah, the trailer too. This one to me painted a different picture than the other trailer did. The other trailer that I guess was the American trailer as opposed to the international trailer. The first one was funnier and it looked like a lighter, fluffier kind of piece. This one was more hard hitting. I got a political thriller Argo feel off of this because it's a great ensemble and what Bryan Cranston's character is going to be going through. They gave you just enough without showing you too much as to what's going to happen, how he's going to be able to rebound, who he's going to use to rebound once this thing goes down. And who takes sides. You're going to see some dynamite performances in here. I got a best picture winner vibe off of this trailer. And look, we haven't seen enough of this or The Revenant or anything else that might be contending, but this one looks like it's got everything that the Academy eats up.
I want to see if Alan Smithy shows up.
Alan Tudyk shows up in this trailer, by the way, and he looks amazing too.
And John Candy swinging a baseball bat, I'm in.
John Candy is not in this film.
Not John
Goodman
What
is.
is happening today?
I don't
apologize.
know.
John Goodman.
But John Goodman beating the crap out. It looks like the best office destruction scene since Ice Cube in Straight Outta Compton.
Well, if they put John Candy in it, it'll definitely win an Oscar for the amount of technology. Sinead, did you see the trailer?
I didn't.
You didn't see it. You should watch
No,
it.
I
Well,
haven't
you
seen
should
anyone.
watch it. If that's all we're going to talk about the trailer, then it's time to go to Rewind, which is what we do on this show. Occasionally, we will tell you the movies that came out 10 years ago today and 20 years ago today. As Campy likes to say, it's the We All Feel Old segment. So, Sinead, what came out a decade and 2 decades ago this week?
All right, well, celebrating its 10th birthday is Waiting, Two for the Money, and In Her Shoes, and celebrating 20 years, Assassins, Dead Presidents, and How to Make an American Quilt.
Okay, so Kristian, when you see the decade-old movies, when you see You're Waiting, you see the Two for the Money and In Her Shoes, which one of those strikes you?
Strangely enough, Waiting, and I didn't like it when I first saw it.
You were great in that movie.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you. And you son of a. The movie itself, I worked in a restaurant a couple times, so it was pretty accurate.
Do you care to say which restaurant?
I worked at the Olive Garden at one point. I worked I worked at CPK, and I worked at the Stinkin' Rose, which is a California-based
It's
restaurant.
a good place, but you will smell like garlic for a week afterwards.
And I was as good as anyone in this movie because they're all terrible, and I was pretty terrible as a waiter. That being said, it was a smaller comedy. It had comedic talent that you had. Justin Long, you hadn't really seen a lot of these guys step up and do anything yet.
Ryan Reynolds as well.
Ryan Reynolds. So it's a pretty. There are some funny gags in that movie for sure. The other one that popped was the 10-year one was Waiting.
Two for the Money.
Two for the
and In Her
Money.
Shoes.
Two for the Money. I remember being really disappointed with that film because I'm a Pacino guy. So to have Pacino and McConaughey in a movie together, gambling, I thought it was going to be one of those movies that you just remember forever, and it's forgettable.
When Two for the Money came out, I saw an ad for it, and Redbox wasn't even a thing yet, but in my head, that screamed Redbox to me, where this is not something that you rush out to the theater
Blockbuster
to
special.
pay money to see. It is such a rental, and you can have an entertaining good time with it, but it is not a good movie by any stretch of the imagination. Neither is Waiting, for that matter. I never saw In Her Shoes. Waiting was something that I was really excited to see, because as a youth, I was a huge Dane Cook fan. I still am. I love his stand-up, and seeing that he was going to make the transition into acting, I was like, oh, I wonder what he's going to bring to the table. And Ryan Reynolds is completely owns that movie. Justin Long's fine in it too. Dane Cook has a smaller part. Luis Guzman has a smaller part. David Kettner's hilarious in the movie. Itself together as a united piece isn't that great. But if you've ever dined at like an Applebee's, which I have on multiple occasions,
Last
even
night.
by daily, I will eat at a corporate restaurant, this movie can give you some pause.
I will tell you the 20-year ones for me. I don't care how dated it is. Assassins, I love it.
See, I don't remember. I remember getting excited to see Assassins because you had Antonio Banderas, fresh off of Desperado, which I loved, and Sylvester Stallone is
Sylvester
Stallone. So you're going into that, and you're like, oh, I can't wait to see these guys duel. And I remember being bored in the theater.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man, I loved it. And it was the first time you really see Julianne Moore in that film as well too. That was the first time I remember. Every time I see Julianne Moore, still I remember her from Assassins. But and a lot of people don't realize that the Wachowski brothers wrote the initial draft, and they actually wanted to take their names off the script because they didn't like the finished version of it. But I just thought it was really funny, silly, fun. It was one of those movies. It proved that Antonio Banderas could hang with Stallone at the time too, because Stallone was Stallone, like you said. And I think that it's one of those movies you go back. It is dated, but it's still a lot of fun. And then Dead Presidents.
Right.
I saw that one in the theater. Remember, and I saw Dwight Gooden there. Remember that? I met Dwight Gooden.
Dr. K?
I met Dwight Gooden when I saw that movie. But that's another one to me that I don't know if it'll hold up now, but at the time it was pretty intense, and yeah, it was pretty raw.
See, I think Dead Presidents is actually a little underrated because when the Hughes brothers, who made Menace to Society in '93, and that put them on the map so hard, then it's tough to follow up something like Menace to Society, which is such a gut punch. So Dead Presidents didn't do that, but it is a very watchable, engaging movie. And I remember actually now that I'm thinking about it, me and two of my buddies went to go see Assassins on opening night, and my mom and my sister went to go see How to Make an American
Oh, really?
Quilt.
Oh, that's
I've
fine.
never seen that
Me
movie, but
either.
my mom and my sister had good things to say about it.
Danny Elfman, I believe, does the end score, or a lot of the score for Dead Presidents, and there's the end when they rob the bank. It's if you look it up, it's an incredible, intense piece of music.
To this day, every time I get a $100 bill, I call it a Dead President.
Sinead, any of those movies that you remember? You were probably born right around the time that
Have you seen any of
Dead
them?
Presidents came out.
I have not seen one of those movies.
All right.
No, literally no.
Well,
I-
thanks
like,
for playing.
Sometimes I'm like, oh, okay. Like there have been a few, especially in the past couple weeks, but legitimately have never seen.
Well, out of the ones that
any
we
of them.
talked about, though, do any of those sound interesting to you that you'd want to say? And I'm gonna in my head, I'm gonna guess the one that you're saying, and
Okay.
you do the same.
Just
See if
like
you
the
got it.
Newlywed Game.
Yeah.
Are you guys thinking waiting?
Nope.
Really?
Nope.
I actually I think you would enjoy it. That's not the one I'm picking though.
Well, I would have said waiting, so I don't know.
No, all right.
I was going 2 for the money.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I was going the Quilt movie.
It's got McConaughey in it, man.
Quilt
Girls love
movie.
McConaughey,
All right.
and guys can love him too. Let's go to mailbag now. Sinead, it is time for that portion of the show where the fans write in, they ask us a question, and Kristian and I do our best to answer it and not look like simpletons.
Okay.
Good luck.
Jesus writes, "Hi, Collider crew. I love your show. My question is the release date of Star Wars a signal that they would try to compete to win some Oscars, including Best Picture? It seems that they sacrificed the summer blockbuster release dates that could have earned them tons of money. Does that explain the winter release date? Do they have a bigger goal than the money?"
I don't think.
First of all, that should win an Oscar.
Yeah,
That's an
it's the
amazing
best.
picture.
No. The reason that they put it in December was because remember when this movie originally, when they said Disney bought Star Wars, it was slated for May 2015. But JJ said, "You're out of your minds. I can't finish this movie by then." And the trailer that we think is dropping in a week or two, that was just finished. They just completed that trailer. They have enough time to make sure that it comes out in December, but to push it in May, they would have really had to been rushing and they would have been sweating really hard. So it would have been tough. But it doesn't hurt that it's in December, and that you'll probably see like a special effects nomination. You might see. I'm hoping that John Williams gets a score nomination. That would be great. That would be a nice, almost like a lifetime achievement nomination as well too. He's been nominated many times, but just again for that particular score would be great. I hope that this happens. I think it's unlikely.
Yeah, when you think about Oscar pushes, there's movies that come out in the summer that do get nominations for like visual effects and maybe a score or composition, something like that. I don't know that there's going to be any award category that this is going to get nominated for because it was released in the winter versus being in the summer. It just doesn't feel like it's going to get nominated for Best Picture. Having said that, the last time any Star Wars movie came out, we only had 5 chances for it to be a Best Picture nominee. Now we have as many as 10. So if this movie's great, it could pull a Lord of the Rings Return of the King and get nominated and maybe even win for Best Picture. A win seems unlikely to me, but if it comes out and it gets the critical reception that we all hope it will, that we'll try to influence as much as we can if we love it, it could be one of those 10 movies.
I just feel, and I hope I'm wrong, but I just feel like the Academy voters are, no, we're not gonna vote for Star Wars, nominate Star Wars. I can't imagine it's gonna happen. There are other movies in the past that should have been nominated. They don't necessarily nominate genre films. I hope that I'm wrong. I just don't see the Academy doing that because they feel it's just gonna be a popcorn. It belongs in the summer, and then that's where it should stay. I feel that. And I hope that I'm wrong. I really hope that I'm wrong, and then it gets nominated, and I'm eating my words.
Yeah, if the Lego Movie got screwed in the animated category last
that's
year,
what
it's
I mean.
hard to
Yeah.
imagine something that's going to be as successful in the box office as Star Wars is. But J.J. Abrams as a director, this movie's great, and you can tell his fingerprints on it. Who had more of pressure to direct a movie than J.J. Abrams did? So I hope they at least factor that into consideration.
Well, Return of the King got nominated and won, and so a lot of Lord of the Rings movies did too, and those are fantasy movies, so they were the exception. So I hope that this falls into the category of Lord of the Rings.
Give Kylo Ren the Oscar right now. Sinead, what do we got next?
Abigail writes, now that you're doing TV reviews, I was wondering what your opinion is on big TV scenes that are mostly digital special effects. I feel like a lot of TV shows don't have the budget to make it look good. I know that there is a lot of little things that are CGI'd that we would never know, but I'm talking about huge scenes. They're terrible. For example, I liked Agent Carter, but the fight scenes are terrible. They look so fake. Do you think TV shows should stay away from huge amounts of CGI if they can't make it look good?
I think TV shows do make a huge concerted effort to stay away from huge effect scenes because they know they can't make it look good, but sometimes you cannot get around it. I think that sometimes the reason why TV is so good is because it's that George Lucas making Star Wars in 1977 where you're not able to put the image in your head up on screen, so you have to think your way around it, and that ends up being a more creative, better production. When I saw Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I watched the premiere and did the review here at Collider last week. I was actually impressed with the effects for the most part. I thought they looked better than they did in season 1, maybe because they upped the budget or maybe because they're like, we can put all of our money and resources into this one scene because this is the CGI heavy one. I was a huge fan of 24, and every season in 24, there were a couple of huge effect shots that they had to throw as much budget as they could, and it still didn't look as good. Like when the nuclear blast goes off in LA, it ain't really happening, but it's easier for me to turn my brain off and just accept it when I'm watching it on a small screen than if I was in like an IMAX theater.
Yeah. There's a few shows that have done it really well. Battlestar Galactica being one of them. Battlestar Galactica's space battles looked incredible. And I remember when I initially watched that show, that's what I was nervous about. I'm like, because TV can't do effects. And somehow they pulled it off. Another show that does it but has the budget to do it is Game of Thrones. Because the Battle of Blackwater, I mean, that's
great call.
Alone, that scene should have looked on television terrible, but it didn't. It looked like something you see in the movies.
But even that scene, apparently, from the people who read the book, is like the actual battle took place during the day, and they decided to shoot it at night because you can cheat a lot more stuff at night.
But I do agree. I think it's harder for television to pull off special effects. And even if you look at The Flash, and I was talking to Campy about this, apparently, I didn't see the episode last night, but apparently there were a couple of scenes that looked really laughable. But I will say, I watched some of the first season, and I thought some of the first season special effects were actually done really well. But it is a matter of budget. It is a matter of how much content they are putting out. Some of these shows do 22 episodes, and be able to do that much time, and how much limited budget you have, it's tough.
All right, Sinead, what do we got next?
Matt writes, quick and easy question from your biggest fan. Why have we not gotten a new Dredd movie? It was visually stunning, good story, and I just really enjoyed the whole film. So what's up? Will we ever see the second movie?
I know you want me to take this one.
Kristian, why don't you field this one?
I loved Dredd. I loved it. I thought it was some of the best use of 3D done in film since Avatar. It was amazing the way that they put together. It's essentially The Raid, but done a little differently. And I think one of the reasons it didn't do well, and this is the answer to your question of why we're not going to see another one, is because it didn't do well, is that there was that stink from the Stallone movie. Because the Stallone movie, it was terrible. It wasn't a known property. It was a rated R film. The movie got a great response from most people who saw it. And they even tried to do like one of those polls with the fans or just a request for fans to get behind it and make sure, let's get the sequel made. And they couldn't do it. They just couldn't get it done. I just think it's too much of a risk for the studio to do, although I wouldn't be surprised if something happened with, say, Netflix along the line. It seems to be the saving grace of a lot of properties is Netflix. I'd like to see a Judge Dredd Netflix Amazon film. I think that if you could, going back to what we were just talking about on the last subject here, I think you can dump some money into it to where the effects would look good. Because Carl Urban was a great Dredd. He didn't have to take off the mask. And how many actors were willing to do that? I mean, him, Tom Hardy, a few people to where that's all you see is right here. And he delivered on it. And you knew what Dredd was from the comics that I read. That was Dredd. So I hope we see a sequel. I don't necessarily think it's going to happen because it's a little bit of a risk financially for somebody to do it.
I don't think you'll ever see a sequel in the theaters to this Judge Dredd, but you're right. The Netflix thing is a very interesting proposition because even somebody like me who wasn't a huge fan of the Dredd movie, I thought the action was repetitive and it just got boring after a while because it was just the same thing. Let's shoot a bunch of guns, let's miss every target, and then we'll reconvene in 5 minutes and do it again. Having said all that, Carl Urban was a very good Judge Dredd, and Carl Urban, it's not out of the realm of possibility for him to consider doing a project like if they brought Dredd to Netflix. I appreciate what they try to do with some of the 3D stuff. You wouldn't see that in a Netflix, but the story you could tell with Judge Dredd over the course of 10 or 13 episodes or however many you could take your time telling it on Netflix, it could be one of those Daredevil situations where you strip down the budget, you tell a smaller story, but it ends up pulling it off pretty well. Sinead, what's the last one?
Christopher writes, "Hey Collider crew, a quick question about Luther in Batman v Superman. Do you think that WB is hedging their bets by making Eisenberg Luther Jr. just in case the general public really does not like him in this movie? That would leave them an out to bring in an older Luther and Lex Sr. if they need to change it later on. Eisenberg still seems to be the biggest point of contention in this movie so far, so leaving an easy way to change Luthers does make some sense."
It's an interesting proposition, and I don't buy it at all. I think that Jesse Eisenberg is their guy. That's the way they wanted to go with the lore of Lex Luthor. So nothing that I've seen come out, which I liked that they took out that ad in Fortune, that mock ad. I thought it was kind of funny. It was a cool, clever marketing campaign. I think Jesse Eisenberg is Lex Luthor. There is not a backup plan in case there's a fan backlash. He is your Lex Luthor. He's going to lose his hair by the end of the movie.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting question and a great conspiracy. But he's Lex Luthor. I mean, because even though I think you and I didn't enjoy the picture with the long, scraggly hair and everything too, that's pulled directly from the comics. I mean, and what Zack Snyder has done so far is pulled from the comics. The other thing you have to realize is that we are going to have Lex Luthor for a handful of movies. He's not dying in this movie. It's not going to happen. You're going to see him again. He's going to pop up. He'll probably pop up in Justice League 2. So you want to lock someone down who's younger. I mean, Eisenberg's in his early 30s, so you're going to have him for a little bit. And if you have him for 10 years, you'll see a 40-ish Lex later on down the line. I think it's too much of a cop-out if they would say, oh, yeah, Bryan Cranston actually is Lex Sr. Because
we'd all love to see Bryan Cranston.
It would have been great, and he was rumored for a long time. But I think this is your Lex. I think it's the same way. It's almost like saying, well, if the fans don't like Batman, is that just some crazy person that's been not hockey pads, some weirdo that's out there pretending he's Batman? No, it's Batman. It's Lex Luthor.
Okay, now I was joking before. I actually think that Lex Luthor is going to hang on to his hair for the bulk of this movie. Do you think that he makes it through the end of the movie keeping those locks? I think he does.
I don't.
I think he does.
And I wouldn't be surprised if it's a wig, but no, I don't. I think he'll be bald by the end of the movie.
Okay, you think Kryptonite does that?
I don't know. I think there's something going to happen with. It's been rumored with Doomsday and all this stuff too. I think that whatever they're messing around with, it's going to mess up his head.
Okay, well, that's going to do it for us here on Collider Movie Talk. Make sure you guys send in your mailbag questions to collidervideos@gmail.com. And with all that being said, Kristian, where can the kids find you?
Well, you can find me, Mark, and John on Collider Jedi Council. That will be tomorrow. It looks like, fingers crossed, we're going to have Claudia Gray, the author of Lost Stars, which we all raved about. That'll be tomorrow. Make sure you hashtag Collider Jedi Council. Get your questions on the air. Follow me at Twitter, Kristian Harloff, and Instagram, Kristian Harloff.
Sinead, where can the kids find you?
Well, I'm going to go watch that Trumbo trailer. I'm super excited for it. And you guys did a wonderful job. You should do this, in your spare time or something.
Yeah,
I'm online on Twitter and Instagram at Sinead DeFries and at that'ssosinead.com.
You can find me on all the various social media networks at 5150 Ellis.
Do it.
And for all of us here, we point, and we're done. See you guys tomorrow.